Welcome, everyone, to In Case You Wanted to Know. My name is John. We have Derek, and of course, I'm not sure which descriptive to use for Jim. We like to mix it up, but I like to go back to the incomparable Jim Henderson. How's it going, fellas?
Yeah, it's tough to compare, right?
Well, when you're incomparable, yeah.
Listen, I love Jim's shirts. You never know what you're going to get with Jim when he wears a shirt. Colorful.
That's true.
Yeah, I'll
he's
try
a man
to
of style.
spice it up every time. Sometimes it's just company blue, but we like to mix it up a little bit.
You're a fashion plate, Jim.
You guys all overwhelmingly told me that you really wanted to see all of the fashion plates in my house.
Never understood what that meant, but I'm pretty sure it's what you are.
And nobody can compare.
That's right. That's right. Well, listen, before we get into today's topic, I wanted to take a quick second. We have some new listeners from around the globe that I wanted to acknowledge, which is really cool. From Cagayan de Oro in the Philippines, Catania, sorry. We have Cancun, Makati City in Manila, Tetovo. So some people have been checking in on the podcast, which is really cool. And we always appreciate anybody who wants to listen to us ramble on for a little bit. So welcome.
Well, hopefully some of the things we talk about will resonate. I think the topics that we have are universal worldwide. Mm-hmm. And I do think that, the whole goal is to get a center that everyone's looking for, that center, that middle road, that where, things are equalized and people's thoughts and opinions matter and who they are matter. But at the same time, collectively, we have a goal to achieve certain things and to see change. I mean, the whole purpose of having a conversation is to accelerate the opportunities that digital media gives us for engaging people and getting people talking about change and making the planet, our universe, a better place for us.
Well, yeah, and progress allows a lot of these things to happen, and it's crazy. I mean, do you realize how difficult it would have been to share these conversations 30 years ago?
Sure.
It would have been insane.
Even 10. I mean, just to put on the production that we do would have cost a heck of a lot more 10 years ago.
Yeah, you need major TV studios and networks, and now any Tom, Dick, or jackass can ramble to the extent we ramble and put it out for the world to hear. It's crazy.
Unfortunately, some of it is so available and so easy that some people will put some stuff out there a little bit too quickly, and maybe probably should think twice about what they expose out there. And,
you're not wrong. There is a copious amount of hot garbage being put out there.
Oh, wonderful. I was just saying that, tonight for dinner, I hope we have a plate full of hot garbage.
Oh, it's not garbage.
So thank you.
Yeah, that's the downside. And, technology has its advantages. We talk about AI and everything. And, it is, remarkable what it can do for good. But, we walk that delicate line of technology ruling us or aiding us. And, we see young people that are just addicted to their digital devices. And I know you guys and myself, we grew up in environments where, we're outside in nature. We invented our ways to entertain ourselves, and now we're sitting and waiting to be entertained. And I hope that, what we do here gives everyone a sense that, we recognize the difference between using it for good and being controlled by it. And we really want to be a voice with what we say and what we do to walk that line and bring education to people about things that we think deeply about. And hopefully, as it says, in case people want to know.
Well, in case you wanted to know, technology has, in some instances, made humans less resilient. And so today we're talking about resilience in relation to sustainability, and the two kind of go hand in hand. But there is, I don't want to say a bias around resilience, but a lack of understanding that resiliency can actually be monetized when it comes to sustainability. Does that sound like how so?
Yeah, explain that. How so?
Well, for example, if you are building a resilient house that is sustainable, like we are doing, and we've talked about this on other podcasts, when a Category 5 hurricane comes through, well, guess what? you're not going to have damages, and that is resiliency. Your home is going to still be standing while the other homes around you have been plastered and just laid to waste. As a result of that, you could say that that is resilience, and you're also saving money as a byproduct of being able to be resilient and have a sustainable home. And
Yeah.
there's a number of different areas where this bias or this belief exists that resiliency is just, being able to get out of bed in the morning and function without coffee. It's not necessarily that. There's a little bit more to resilience. And part of that is focusing on what the monetization is of resiliency in relation to sustainability.
Absolutely right, Derek. We think of resiliency as, tough. You're able to be resilient when economic times are tough. You're resilient when relationships hit us hard, resilient when finances are not good. And resilience in your living environment or your work environment, I think is something that we don't really consider. The costs of that to us personally, emotionally, time-wise. And we've been working around how to present the product that we're excited about. It started here at William C. Huff because we wanted to have a self-sustaining environment that we work in, and we've accomplished that pretty well. I mean, there are some things that if the entire building was a little more efficient, it would be easier to accomplish. But resiliency in the face of a catastrophe is very costly, not just money-wise, but time-wise and emotions, psychologically. I know when Irma hit here, we experienced 142-mile-an-hour winds, and
That
we
would
just
be
finished
Hurricane.
our
That would be Hurricane Irma for those not living in Hurricane Alley.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Hurricane Irma. It was a big one. And,
Yeah.
the highest wind speed that I've seen, and I've been through a few of them here, and we just finished our resilient structure. And a few years earlier, had finished our solarization here for our company. And the solar was fine. The building was fine. And there was a peace of mind. People that work here came and stayed in our new Hurricane 200 plus mile an hour maximum sustained wind building. And everyone was calm and confident that we were going to be fine. And there is a peace of mind of knowing that. And Derek, that's a good point. And it's certainly something that, in case you wanted to know, gets people to think, what is it?
On that front with what is it, I asked AI, I didn't go look for a definition. I asked AI to explain resilience and sustainability. And resilience, it says the ability to recover quickly from difficulties and also the ability to prepare for threats and absorb impacts. Now, when you look at sustainability, the first thing it says is the ability to maintain something at a certain rate or level. And I would venture to guess that if you look at sustainability, it's not just maintaining, but you can actually monetize being resilient through the use of being sustainable in your life and in your living environments.
We talked about this a little bit yesterday, and we've been looking at ways to present what we're doing in a way that people, one, are educated properly, but the bias that we talked about on our last podcast to sustainability, it extends into what we're talking about, being able to provide resiliency to many things, and how that impacts us moving forward, keeping what you have without having to step back and regroup. When you had damage to your house, Derek, how much time did you put into? I mean, you had to deal with the insurance companies. I just remember it being very time consuming, getting contractors, it was a fight and a struggle emotionally.
Yeah.
For you.
Briefly, Derek, talk about the damage that you sustained, how long it took, and what the approximate cost was, just so people have a frame of reference.
Hurricane Ian, 3 bedrooms and a bathroom, which was about 50% of my house was gone. Couldn't use it. We had kids living there. The insurance company offered us $12,000. I ended up through about 8 months of struggle and getting a public adjuster, I ended up getting $120,000 and spent every penny of that fixing the house and bringing it back to its original state. So again, talking about sustainability, bringing it back to where it was. If I had had the home that we are building, I wouldn't have had the damage, number one. I would still be, if I was running an electric car and charging the car, at the house, I'd be saving the money on electricity. I wouldn't have really missed a beat having batteries and making it through several days of no power because there's battery backup. And I'd still be saving money on gas. And I'd still, when there's no gas in the area for weeks at a time, not days, weeks without gasoline, I'd still be able to go truck around in my electric car and not have to deal with the gas and the time and the waiting in lines. I once waited 4 hours for gas.
Yeah. From the date of the storm until the time that all the repairs were done, how much time elapsed?
14 months and hundreds of hours of talking to different contractors, adjusters, and even having to take my public adjuster and strong arm him into going to these campuses where the insurance companies would come and talk to you. And then they give you every reason in the book to not give you the money. If you have a house that's not going to get damaged due to high winds, then that time is back. And how much is that worth to everybody? If, look, when I've consulted in the past, I've billed out $250 an hour. So if you take $250 an hour times, say, 150 hours, that's a pretty good chunk of change that you are making as a result of being sustainable.
And those are the measurable ones, Derek and John. We can put a number on that. But if we want to look to the social impact on our families, our job, your jobs, your consulting and working with us, and we lost you and your focus for a period of time because that took time. So businesses suffer, families suffer time away. I mean, there was a time when you had your family with us for a while you dealt with some of these things because we didn't lose the power, we didn't lose these things, and so there's time away from your family, and so you don't get that back. Life is short, and so resilience built into sustainability, I think, is a really important concept to consider because there is a financial, and then there's the emotional, the physiological, psychological part to it that's hard to put a number, but it's real. You see it. I felt it with Irma here, not so much that we had the damage, but we lost power at our business. I lost power at my house, and so there was an inconvenience. I now have complete backup. I mean, what I did because I didn't want to face that. I wanted my home to be a sanctuary where, in the event that it happens again, and it does,
and it will,
repeats itself.
Yeah.
I know that I've got redundancy. I've got the ability to generate enough power to run batteries, and if the batteries get low, I have backup generator for the batteries. So I could go months literally without having to worry about that part of it. I could still sustain myself, my family, and have the ability to be clear thinking about my business, my clients, my staff, and meeting their needs. And because when you're looking after your own needs, Derek, it's hard to focus on the things, your job and your family. It really is.
Well, it just takes time away, and that's not a resilient way to run a business or live your life or anything. Interestingly enough, too, I was thinking about this. I had a friend that was looking for a job, and she reached out, and I mentioned working for family offices in some capacity. And if you think about how much money family offices have to spend and their goals to grow, and then all of a sudden a hurricane comes through or there's a power outage, even losing one day of efficiency. I think I saw the other day over the course of a year, there's 252, actual business days, selling days in a year, and removing vacations and holidays and everything else. And if you have to make millions of dollars, every day counts. Every day, it's you always talk about the tyranny of the urgent. And unfortunately, when you have sales goals, you have to be urgent. And if you're a family office or any business for that matter, if you're not resilient because of natural disasters or whatever it may be, and your staff isn't efficient and resilient as a result of it, your business gets hurt.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think too, again, one of the goals, the primary goals when I started on this journey was to make environments where our staff could be energy independent, resilient in the face of these storms so that they're available to face running our business. And so making our business resilient, we have to a big extent. It's almost impossible for a facility this size, as old as it is, to get to that level of efficiency and resilience. But with the ground up type approach, it's a lot less expensive, it's easier to do, and it's built into projecting how we can be there when we need to be as a business, and because we need to provide for these families, and the more we can be available and 100% working, and our staff can be, the more productive we can be, and especially when disaster hits, that's when people want and will appreciate that extra, your ability to be available when everyone else is shut down.
Yeah, if you're new to the podcast, just so you have an idea of what we're talking about, the three of us, our company has a 50,000 square foot warehousing facility that is powered entirely by solar. Jim's home got retrofitted 3-4 years ago now.
No, about two, yeah.
Two, okay.
Yeah.
Retrofitted, fully powered by solar as well. We have built in the past a rock solid, sustainable, very, very earth friendly home that was powered by solar. We're in the process of building another that can withstand Category 5 hurricane winds, fire resistant, bug resistant, you name it. This can stand up to it. And so when you hear us referencing these things, that's what we're talking about.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for that, because people hopefully will jump in, and we're hoping to get some interaction from people that do jump into these conversations, because it's a grassroots movement. It has to be. Those are the best ones because they're real, as Derek knows and talks to me about. The organic part of growing anything is more valuable than the paid for. And we like to know that we've put in the work necessary, the hard work of building a grassroots movement, because that's the one that lasts. That's the one that will gain momentum and have sustainability when other movements just fizzle out because they see a keyword, they jump on it, right? We were talking about that this morning, John. We saw a business, and then again, they're using the word sustainability, but it's just a word. It's not.
It's marketing. In that instance, it's all just marketing. Like you said, they're throwing the right terms out that are going to catch people's attention. But if you look under the hood, right, you'll see that they're not doing anything different than anybody else. They're just slapping a popular label on it.
It's sort of like saying you've got your little Toyota 4-cylinder, and you're going to the drag races, and you're going to beat a Top Fuel dragster because you decided you could, and you get there, and like you said, you lift up the hood and say, "This isn't going to happen." And intention is good, but in broadcasting it and talking about it, but actually doing it, the people that I find that are getting things done, they don't talk about it. They're busy doing it, and that's what we've been doing.
And we are also always talking about what the future looks like. Like I remember one conversation where we talked about trucks and having them be electric, and I don't think the technology at the time was feasible to be able to take the building and fill these trucks up with the energy that they would need to go on long distance moves. That's not to say that technology isn't there today. I don't know. Wasn't planning on talking about this. Otherwise I would have been a good journalist and look, but I still don't think it's there yet.
It's close. It's closer than it was.
Yeah. And so, but we're always looking at that as a way to be on the cutting edge of it, because it's the right thing to do for the economy, but also if we're able to cut some gas savings and pass that along to our clients or pass it along to our staff, that's the right thing to do.
Well,
And that's sustainable as well.
Well, that's what we call pioneering. I mean, when solar was in its infancy, I was studying electrical engineering, and nuclear was, early 80s. Nuclear was the answer, because solar was just totally inefficient. I mean, the cost per kilowatt was astronomical, like $14 a kilowatt hour, to produce. And so it wasn't feasible, but now it's down under $1. And so if your rate's 20 cents, it's a five year at the most payback. And that's not including the 4 or 5% minimal inflation rate increase, which brings it down to about 3.5. And people don't think about, fixed pricing on energy. But when you do establish now solar, geothermal up north for heat, because those are your big concerns, air conditioning and heat. Now you're talking about harnessing energy, and now with the battery storage being very efficient, what you're talking about, Derek, harnessing it to a point where you can store it and use it for benefiting people. Again, from the ground up, it makes sense, and it's almost feasible. The truck thing, I think, is not too far out, but there have to be pioneers. People have to jump in, and I know people that jumped into the solar business when it wasn't feasible, but they were pioneers. Our friend and client, Neville Williams, who was president and founder of US Solar, largest solar company. He's the one that got me reinterested in solar several years ago. I kind of laughed at him, but he said, no, seriously, look into it. And it took me, a couple of days, and I looked into it and I said, wow, this has come a long way. Let's do something. Mm-hmm. And so he now is the guy that's our spokesperson that says, Jim is the guy who put his money where my mouth is. And so he was the pioneer. And so we're taking that baton. Neville is retired and moving on. And so we've got that baton, and I'm trying to pass that to you, Derek, and to John, and say, hey, this works today. Let's go with it, because that will pave the way for the next technology. That will lead to the next thing. But if somebody doesn't do it, it won't get done. It just won't. People talk, but there have to be doers.
I want to go back to something you said earlier, and you've mentioned this before about fixed costs for energy prices. So let's talk about your house, Jim. So you now, correct me if I'm wrong, you have a fixed price for your energy because you bought the solar system, you made the investment, and now you know what your cost to run the system is monthly.
Yeah.
Now that fixed cost lasts for how long? The life of your solar rig?
Sure, 25 years. And everyone talks about, well, you're going to lose the efficiency as it gets older. Yeah, 4 or 5, maybe 10%.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but a panel right now is $300 or $400. So you throw up 5 panels and you've corrected the difference, and you really gone nowhere. But in 4 years, energy prices for electricity have gone up an average of almost 30%. And in some states, like New Hampshire, it went up 50% in one summer. Just one summer, it surged, and it hasn't come back down.
Yeah,
and
so even having to put a little bit more money into your home solar rig or your commercial solar rig, you're still winning.
Yeah,
you're still
because
beating that inflation.
It's pretty much a fixed cost. So once you've offset that expense, that monthly expense, it's just like a car. You buy a car because it's a fixed expense. You buy a house because it's a fixed expense. It's a hedge against inflation. So the thinking now is, buy your energy at a fixed cost, because you can harness it, store it, and use it, and get that fixed cost that we're talking about.
One other, this is a concept that I was talking to a farmer at the Great Wolf Lodge. My kids were just off doing things, and this guy starts talking to me, and he's working on a system where in some states you can't have water buckets out and collect the water.
Right.
And he finds it idiotic, because what he wants to do with his farm is collect that water and then have that water pump that's connected to it, that connects to soakers, and then have a wind turbine or a solar power the water pump to be able to have a constant water, water to the plants on through the soakers and through these buckets. And I was fascinated by the concept. He's like, I'm trying to kind of rig it myself. I have no idea. Again, bad journalism. I don't know if this exists out there, but this one guy was talking about doing it. He said the problem is the legislation holds him back from being able to do this. And so resiliency also is kind of a thing that is blocked by our own government.
Well, that's where our resiliency comes in. That's where you have to, put on the boots and get ready to wade into some deep water.
Jim, you're a foster child, and you're passionate about helping foster children out. AI spit back under sustainability, the ability to meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations.
Very important.
Kids matter to you, and that is another reason to, in addition to the savings and some of the monetization options or opportunities that exist with resiliency in relation to sustainability, we're doing this for the kids. We do everything for our kids anyways, but why not do it for them now?
Well, it's a future, and breaking the cycle, breaking the status quo is very important, not just on the things that we're talking about, resiliency in face of economic or natural disasters, but in face of family issues. Number one reason that there's broken families is because of loss of job, economic hardship starts the cycle, and then people don't recover. We have so many financial needs that burden us, and sometimes it overtaxes people, and then when they lose a job or something. And if there's no resiliency in your home life, financial, then it breaks down the personal life, the emotional, and becomes physical, and then you're taken out of the homes, and then you're put into these other homes, which doesn't work out either, because you really want to have a stable environment to grow up in. And this is one of the ways to put a hedge against that, put a stopgap to keep that from happening. But at the same time, when we can bring young people, like we do with our business, that, into an environment where they are stable, where they do have predictable circumstances, their family life is more likely to be stable. What is the unseen effect 10 years, 15 years down the road? Because we always try to fix a problem after it's become a problem. But if we create an environment where there isn't a problem, you don't have to fix it later. And we all know it costs 10 times as much to fix the problem than to do it right the first time. Do it right the first time. So let's build better product that gives us predictability and cost, because ultimately that does affect our personal lives. It really does.
So a good product is going to sell the people who are naysayers because they don't believe in dinosaurs because they haven't seen them with their own two eyes. Just like they're not going to see the resiliency and sustainability being, a profitable outcome unless they can see it.
Yeah. No, the ROI and cost per square foot, and you have to throw those out the window when you're a pioneer, when you're looking to establish a different way of doing things. And I'm not talking about a different way just to be different. We're talking about a different way that we know. My background's engineering. I love math, and I know, and I can prove unequivocally, mathematically and financially, what we're talking about makes sense in the, not necessarily the short term, but certainly in the midterm and the long term could be revolutionary. It really could.
Well, to wrap up our conversation and to bring it back around, what are the in simple terms, the things that we can do to become more resilient, either with our homes, with our general lifestyle? Let's run the list real quick, and then we'll jump off this call.
Stop and listen. Don't just take on the surface what you hear. Investigate. Think about it. Take more time than just a millisecond, and don't take the word and quote wisdom of convention, because that is slanted. It's always going to be slanted. So if you're wanting to know how to be more resilient with your own life, starting with your home and how you protect it from natural and economic disasters. And those are the two things that really affect our families, right? take a look. What can I invest? How can I do something that hedges against the inevitable economic and environmental disaster that's going to impact? It will impact your family. It's going to impact your work, and it's going to impact you emotionally and physically. Take a look at that and see what those costs are, and weigh them against the more mid and long-term returns, not just, can I get my money back, in 3 years?
Okay.
Because-
So step
Yeah.
one is don't take everything at face value that people say. Do your research. What's
Yeah.
another one, Derek?
Little things. It's little steps in your life. For example, I'm working on moving home, and home for me is New England, where I grew up. And one of the things I've been looking at is fireplaces and wood stoves. What are alternatives to just burning wood? What's cleaner? What's more efficient? And there are options that are out there. And that's a way to be resilient. I'm going to save money long term, but I'm going to have more efficient burning options. And obviously, I'm going to save money on my energy when I'm maximizing the use of that wood stove or fireplace.
And the inevitable solar rig that you'll build.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure, guys. Great talk. I can't wait to do the next one.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.